Visual Studio, I've created a new application that I called Standard Font Dialog. And my form, I set the text equal to Font Dialog Demo. And my form size is 77 by 250. And then I created a large text box. And the text is, "The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog." And again, that's the sentence that uses every letter of the alphabet, so it's common in displaying fonts. And I set the multi-line property to true. So if we set a big font, it can wrap around. And I also want to set the word wrap to true. That should be the default nature anyway. And then I named this TXT Demo. I created a button, and the button's name is BTN Change Font. And I just simply changed the text to change font. So what I want to happen is when we click this button is give the user the option of changing the font of this text box, both changing the font size, and the font attributes. And to do that, we're going to use the font dialog here in our toolbox. It's down in the dialog section. I'm just going to drag it to my screen. Again, this is a non-viewable control. So it's going to place it down in the status bar or status tray of my application. It will be visible when we call it, but does not exist on our form per se. It has properties. I'm just going to leave it named Font Dialog, and we could set the default font. We can change the font here we're going to have show up. What I'm going to do is set the font of this Font Dialog to whatever the font of the text box is. So I'm not going to change anything else in the properties here. I am going to take this and just dock this out of the way for now. And let's double click our Change Font button. So I'm going to create a font object called myFont, and it's going to equal txtdemo.font. And that object contains not only the font family, but the font size and its attributes such as bold and italic. Then I'm going to take our font dialog 1, and I'm going to set the font of that dialog to myFont, or the font of the TXT demo text box. Then we will show that dialog. So font dialog 1 dot show dialog. Once they close that dialog, the font property of that font dialog is what we're going to apply to our TXT demo. So TXT demo.font equals font dialog 1 dot font and my semicolon. That's it. 4 short lines to take the font that currently exists in our text box, set the font dialog equal to that font, and then show the dialog, and whatever they choose in the dialog, set TXT font to that font from the dialog. Let's try this. I'm going to click Change Font. Currently what I have is a Microsoft Sans Serif Regular 12. Let's change this to maybe Modern 20 BT. I'll do italic, and I'm going to change it to maybe 24. I see the sample here. I'm going to click OK, and there's my new font. Now if I click Change Font again, it's going to take wherever this font is and start there in the dialog. So Modern 20 BT, italic 24. Let's come up here this time, maybe to, let's do Algerian Regular 11. And there we go. And I'll change it one more time. Courier New Bold 18. So very simple to use a font dialog to change the fonts of objects.